Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to today's bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's bonus, shall we? Today's first part of the upload. In 2008, the United States Defense Intelligence Agency gave $22 million to the Exotic Science Division of Las Vegas billionaire Robert Bigelow's space startup Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies, or BAASS, to study breakthrough technologies and UFOs. A debrief investigation, including new unredacted internal documents, illuminates some of the odd history of this secretive program and reveals that some of the government's money was directed to even stranger things than they had in mind. In 2008, at the behest of Senator Harry Reid of Nevada, then the majority leader, the DIA, or Defense Intelligence Agency, funded the Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Applications Program, AAWSAP. According to the solicitation bid, the purpose was to explore potential breakthrough technology applications employed in the future aerospace weapons systems. Though, the Pentagon told the debrief earlier this year that the DIA was not investigating UFOs. Significant evidence exists that seems to contradict their position. The confusion may stem from the fact that the project solicitation document purposely left out the mention of controversial topic altogether. The people putting out the bid thought it would be better that it didn't say flying saucers or unidentified flying objects. Former Senator Reid told the debrief in an interview, "It was thought by many that it would just draw too much attention, and by it being phrased the way it was, we had somebody by the Defense Intelligence Agency draw out the specs of it. It covered that anyway." Reid told the debrief that Bigelow Aerospace applied for the $22 million contract and won because the company had facilities that met the requirements for the project. When asked if Bigelow had been pre-selected for the contract due to his connection to Reid, as well as his pre-existing public interest in UFOs, Mr. Reid stated flatly, "No. It was like any other government contract. It was put out for bid, and he did the best. He was willing to do more than others. He supplied, for example, the facility, so we put out the bid, but his response to it was the best. And that's how he got it," Reid explained. He was not pre-selected. After winning the contract, BAASS was tasked with studying and generating reports on exotic science that could lead to potential breakthrough technology. BAASS, alongside with a team of scientists, generated 38 such reports. Redacted copies of eternal BAASS security reports that have been posted online indicate that before the AAWSAP program was defunded in 2010, the company had assembled an in-house team of investigators not only to write those 38 reports, but also to travel around and look into sightings of monsters, the paranormal, and other bizarre UFO-related phenomenon in Utah. Indeed, a leaked collection of unredacted internal BAASS documents examined by the debrief now confirm that the DIA-sponsored organization was not only investigating foreign advanced aerospace weapon threats from the past out to the next 40 years, but also UFOs and a lot of other anomalous things, even more unaccustomed to the attention of the government. Among other tasks, BAASS sent in investigators to Utah to investigate sightings of the strange phenomenon at the infamous Skinwalker Ranch and in the greater Uinta Basin that surrounds it. Skinwalker Ranch is currently owned by a real estate mogul, Brandon Fugel. Prior to his purchase of the property in 2016, the 512-acre ranch was owned by Robert Bigelow himself. According to BAASS documents, investigators were told to pose as researchers from a plentiful oil field nearby and never to reveal the names of BAASS, Robert Bigelow, Bigelow Aerospace, and most certainly the sponsors. Identities should never be released or discussed in public. The ultimate sponsor in this case was the DIA, the intelligence arm of the Department of Defense. Ryan Skinner, who runs a popular website dedicated to Skinwalker Ranch, was specifically mentioned in the document as a possible nuisance to their investigation. The researchers were told to maintain a low profile. Mr. Skinner admitted that he would indeed often visit the ranch and attempt to sneak onto the property. While he personally thinks the ranch is home to strange phenomena, he believes that Bigelow and his personnel were attempting to unlock secrets to a novel propulsion system. It is clear to me Mr. Bigelow was not looking for little green men. He was looking for ways to significantly advance his aerospace company's aspirations by discovering a novel means of propulsion, Skinner told the debrief in an interview. My impression is that he believed the key to unlock that corporate advantage was by investigating in a team of scientists to study the exotic propulsion demonstrated by UAPs, commonly witnessed at the Skinwalker Ranch. It is unclear if Bigelow was in fact attempting to glean information from UFOs on breakthrough technology applications employed in the future aerospace weapon systems, as per the DIA mandate for the AAWSAP program. What is clear is that his team was also chasing werewolves and goblins at the same time. Documents examined show that the BAASS investigators interviewed multiple witnesses in Uinta Basin, who have claimed to see dog-like creatures that allegedly stood on two legs, were over 6 feet tall, and smelled like sulfur. In another document, those same witnesses reported seeing little people that resembled goblins, standing roughly 3 to 4 feet, and with arms that hung down to the ground. The third report discusses a ghostly human figure standing on the mesa overlooking Skinwalker Ranch. A member of the now defunct BAASS team, who asked to keep their comments anonymous, said that the investigators were never convinced monsters or aliens were running around Utah. If it was weird, the team looked into it. It was our job. But to be honest, a lot of those stories were crazy and probably bullshit. Like, if there was a dead animal or a trail of blood, no one thought it was a werewolf or anything like that. The source also said probably just coyotes. The former employee explained that their actual job was to collect as much information as possible that might provide a better understanding of how these supposed far-out phenomena worked and how it could lead to new technology. They added that the team was tasked with investigating Every bizarre claim, no matter how ridiculous. The Utah was not the only destination that got BAASS's attention. Though the former team member did not provide specific details, they stated that the company also sent a team to Mount Shasta in Northern California. Shasta has a long history of paranormal and UFO lore, as being a purported site of UFO events and a diverse array of other weird activity, including supposed interdimensional portals. The source explained that their role was to investigate claims of anomalous activities and collect evidence that could be used to develop new propulsion systems. How stories of goblins, bipedal dogs, and even transdimensional portals fit into that, they're unsure. Regardless of the scope of the DIA mandate to research potential breakthrough technology applications employed in the future aerospace weapon systems, there is clear evidence that Bigelow was exploring some incredibly speculative topics. According to a Popular Mechanics article by Tim McMillan and an internal BAASS progress report he obtained, BAASS was seeking access to U.S. government files regarding UAP and still classified files from the Air Force old UFO investigation Project Blue Book, as might be explained given the AAWSAP contracts focused on breakthrough aerospace technologies. But the progress report also explicitly stated that the BAASS was attempting to establish communication with a non-human entity they believed to be occupying Skinwalker Ranch, seemingly much further afield from the terms of the program's funding. And the data collected at the ranch was corrupted by the fact that some of the guards would reportedly exaggerate incidents in order to keep the boss happy and receive a potential bonus. When I first got up to the ranch, the guy who was training me mentioned that there was a possibility of a bonus if we ever found solid evidence of what was going on. Chris Bartel, a former guard employed by Bigelow Aerospace, states, "This of course caused some guys to embellish experiences that normally could easily be explained. The guys who did this eventually got found and fired. This of course muddled the waters, because there was strange stuff that would happen from time to time, but documenting it was always a problem." The BAASS team pursued a UAP data from a variety of sources. Researchers Keith Basterfield and Mark Cicotti confirmed that former BAASS data analysis that the company collected UFO reporting data from the French government via GEIPAN, a unit of French National Space Agency that collects and shares such information. Canadian UFO researcher Chris Rakowski states that he too was contacted by the BAASS in 2009 asking for UFO cases previously sent to him by the Canadian government. The former BAASS employee who spoke about the condition of anonymity said that several investigators traveled to Brazil around 2009 or maybe 2010, where they were investigating a recent UAP event and collecting evidence. Other researchers have also been able to independently verify that the BAASS team was in Brazil in 2009 asking for UFO reports and alleged material evidence from UFO events. The documents examined also included contracts and internal emails detailing the tumultuous relationship between BAASS and the Mutual UFO Network of MUFON. BAASS provided funding to MUFON, the largest non-profit UFO research organization, in 2009. The deal included the sale of all witness reports, witness information, collected evidence, and the organization's entire reporting database. James Karen, who oversaw the deal as MUFON's internal director at the time, states that all physical evidence that needed to be analyzed went to BAASS. Having left the organization years ago, he presumes that the material is still with Bigelow Aerospace and is unaware if anything was returned to the original owners. Mr. Carrion also explained that any individuals filing UFO reports had to agree before submitting their information that it could be released to a third party. The public had no clue that the third party was BAASS, however, and that their data may have been funneled to the Defense Intelligence Agency, Caron explained. He stated that even he was unaware the DIA was sponsoring the BAASS when MUFON entered into the contractual agreement with them. BAASS ended its relationship with MUFON in 2010. A second former BAASS employee who spoke on the condition of anonymity stated that several company employees and analysts were required to have government-issued secret security clearances and were in the process of having their clearances raised to top secret before their employment was terminated in the late 2010, most likely due to the DIA's decision not to renew its funding for the project. When the DIA canceled the AAWSAP program in 2010, Bigelow Aerospace fired the investigative team. I woke up one day and didn't have a job, the ex-BAASS source states. He received a phone call and was told that the investigation team had been disbanded. They, along with many others associated with the project, were let go in 2011. The Department of Defense apparently bootstrapped the defunded AAWSAP program into the counterintelligence portfolio held by Pentagon staffer and career defense intelligence official Louis Elizondo and named it AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat and Identification Program. Elizondo told that the AATIP task was to focus on encounters with unknown aerial phenomena reported by military personnel. There was no attempt to explore the more bizarre paranormal events that occupied the time of BAASS investigators during the AAWSAP years. The individuals that were part of that, I know personally, Louis Elizondo told George Knapp on the late-night radio show Coast to Coast on December 20th. They are outstanding, and they are no-nonsense individuals, and for their reasons, they decided to cast a very wide net, and that's probably out of due diligence. We really didn't have very good understanding of what we were dealing with, and so typically you want to cast a wide beam of light, so to speak, so you can first see what is it you're looking for, and then of course you can focus on it later. It is unclear why the DIA scraped BAASS funding. However, AAWASP mandate never mentioned UFOs or werewolves. It is reasonable to suspect that investigating reports of goblins in Utah or attempting to communicate with interdimensional entities have played a role in the DIA decision to no longer fund the project. It is also unknown precisely how taxpayer money was used in the program, though an unnamed BAASS source related that much of the funding for Bigelow's UFO research was paid for by his personal wealth and not the government funds. AATIP's Elizondo states that while he was in no way involved with BAASS and didn't feel qualified to elaborate, Bigelow was known to use his own money for portions of this endeavor. We reached out to Bigelow Aerospace, but they didn't respond to requests for comment of this. It is clear, though, from the teams, facilities, and travel known to be involved with the entire BAASS project would have cost a fortune. In an exclusive feature, there was new light shed on the current task force investigating UAPs out of the Office of Naval Intelligence. The debrief also broke the story concerning the recent omnibus bill that will force the task force to provide an intelligence report concerning UAP to Congress. It is clear that the United States government has a continued interest in the subject of breakthrough technology in our skies and is willing to continue funding programs into its investigation. We don't know why the DIA officially scrapped the AAWSAP project, but things indicate that the BAASS was doing more than simply researching exotic technology. It was chasing things that go bump in the night. Before we get into the next part of the upload, I'd like to remind you guys that I had a subscriber that sent me in his encounter, and he also came on from Texas, and him, his wife, and his daughter all saw a UFO. They chased it down in rural Texas. We're not talking way out, we're not talking city like Dallas, but we're talking rural. So then the UFO just gone, disappears and vanishes. He then contacts MUFON. Ironically, a guy comes 2 weeks later and speaks with him, asks him some questions, yada yada yada, and it just goes on from there. Black helicopters. So then, black helicopters literally flying over this guy's house. So then he sees a huge Dogman in front of his house, standing next to a 4.5-foot mailbox. I believe 48 inches or 45. I'm really going off the top of my head on this one. And then MUFON actually came to his house and said, "Hey, we're sorry we took so long." And he says, "Oh, I've already had someone come from MUFON." And they said, "No, we only have 2 investigators here." All of what that guy had happened to him just points to what I just shared with you guys. I hope you guys remember that interview, because that just made it all the more creepy. Today's final part of the upload. I was a National Guardsman at Mount St. Helens site, and this is the first time I've ever spoken about what I saw firsthand. I lived in Spokane, Washington, and was 24 at the time this all took place. I've read some other stories, and they only tell a small part of that story. I was placed on a special cleanup crew further up the mountain. A large tent was set up, and it was guarded by armed soldiers who were not part of the guard. There were numerous soldiers on the scene that were not members of the guard. We were given a briefing by a soldier who said that after he spoke to us, we would forget about him and what he had said at the end of the mission. This was strange, as we never dealt with anything before. Myself and 4 other guardsmen were told to follow a group of soldiers and not speak to each other, and to remain very quiet overall. We were told to get into a jeep and wait. We sat in the jeep for maybe a half an hour. Eventually another jeep arrived carrying a civilian and another team of military. The civilian was brought into the tent, and he emerged a few minutes later, followed by a large hairy creature. It looked like a large man covered in fur, and the best way to describe it was like Beast from the X-Men, only brown. The creature looked to have some burns and had a bandage on its arm. At first we were afraid, but when it walked by, we could see its eyes. and it just looked very sad and somber. He climbed into the back of a pickup with the civilian, and the two were speaking in a weird language that I had never heard. It would cough at times. We followed the truck to different areas. There were 5 total stops. Each time we stopped, we were told to follow the civilian and the creature. Each time we followed them to the rocky area where the caves were. The creature would make a sound and then listen. At the first area he made a sound, and we all just waited in silence. After a few minutes, the creature looked at the civilian and then at the ground. The civilian at one point touched its shoulder and called for a canteen to give the creature a drink. The same thing happened at the next area, but this time there was a response to the sound. After a few moments, 2 soldiers emerged from the cave carrying a badly burned creature that was like the one with the civilian. The creature bent down next to it and looked it over for about 5 minutes, and then spoke softly to the civilian. It turned and walked back to the truck, and we were told to follow. As we were walking away, we heard a shot, and we knew it was one of the soldiers putting the creature out of its misery. There was no response at the 3rd or 4th site, but at the 5th, there was another return sound to the creatures. This time it was different. The soldiers carried out the creature with badly burned leg. We were then ordered to all help get the very large stretcher from the truck and help place the creature on it and carry it back to the truck. We then immediately returned to base camp. The creature was carried into a tent while the other creature was with civilians. We were ordered to stay in the Jeep until we were debriefed. As the creature turned to walk into the tent, it looked at us and made a waving gesture with its hand. We took it as a thank you for what we had done. By the time we were ordered out of the Jeep, we were all in shock. We were called over to the area to be debriefed, and it was just strange. I will never forget what was said, because it was just not what was expected. I thought I would hear, "You took an oath, and now you need to live up to it for your country," with a threat also implied. A different high-ranking soldier just said, "Look, do you all really want an explanation? You saw what we were doing. These creatures live in this area. They mean no harm. They want to be left alone. Do you really want to do anything that may cause them trouble? They are like us in a lot of ways. If you need or want to talk about this, just wait 30 years or so. By that time, there will likely be no reason to keep them a secret." We were then ordered back to the guard camp because they were breaking it up so nobody saw too much and knew anything that happened. We did not speak of it, and after a few months, it just took the attitude that these things live out there, and honestly, my life is no different because of it. I only bring it up now because people have been writing a lot of stuff about Mount St. Helen, and I believe that the whole story should be told. I will also say this. I like to camp and hike, and have done so many times throughout the Northwest. Every time I would look for signs of these creatures, tracks, listen for sounds. I never saw or heard anything other than what I did that day on Mount St. Helen.
Well, there you have it, folks. I hope y'all enjoyed today's bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you, and I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps the channel growing and going, and what gives people a chance to share their experiences and theories judgment-free, just simply treated with the respect that we all deserve. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless.